Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Combermary people.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Thursday, August 31. In Squiz Kids Today, let the referendum race begin. Loch Ness monster search results. Squiz-E sniffs a voice fake and miniature goat yoga. That's what's making news, kids style.
The lowdown.
Referendum. You couldn't move yesterday without bumping into the word. It was everywhere, all over the news, after Aussie Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced the date for an upcoming referendum on an Indigenous voice to Parliament. But what is a referendum? And why is there so much noise around about it? And why should you care? A referendum is basically a vote. A question is posed to which all Australians over the age of 18 are asked to vote yes or no, in this case, on whether we should change the Constitution to create a body called a voice, so that Indigenous Aussies have a say on matters that affect them. No, not that voice. This one has nothing to do with Guy Sebastian, or a TV singing show, or a big red spinning chair. Are you still confused though? Well, don't panic. Because Squiz Kids has teamed up with the Museum of Australian Democracy to produce a 2-part podcast series called Gang Gang's Guide to Referendums. Gang Gang is a cockatoo, and he's in a flap because of all the fuss and bother in his hometown of Canberra over this thing called a referendum. The podcast explains what a referendum is, how they work, the history of referendums in Australia, including the fact that out of the 44 referendums Australia has had, only 8 have passed, and why they're a really important part of our democracy. And teachers, there are classroom worksheets and a really cool snakes and ladders inspired activity called Referendum the Board Game, all easily downloadable and all completely free. The podcast is available at any time on our website, squizkids.com.au/referendums, or via the main Squiz Kids feed in whatever podcast app you use to listen to us. In fact, if you're listening now on an app, both episodes should play automatically after this episode of Squiz Kids Today. I've also stuck links in today's episode notes. And adults, we've got you covered too. Our big sister podcast, The Squiz Today, has produced an agenda-free, opinion-free resource centre on the referendum and the voice, including fantastic shortcut podcasts on the topic and a snapshot of the yes and no voting cases. I've stuck a link to that as well in today's episode notes.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Scotland, on Loch Ness, no less, where the search has been on to try and find the Loch Ness monster. Loch is a Scottish word for lake. As Christy told us last week, the mystery of the Loch Ness monster has been around for decades. There have been lots of unconfirmed sightings of an unexplained sea monster, just as there have been lots of hoaxes, which is to say people pretending to have seen an underwater monster. And all over the weekend just gone, Loch Ness monster enthusiasts have been crawling all over the lake, with sound recording equipment and underwater cameras, hoping to gather evidence once and for all that Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, does in fact exist. And while no monster has yet been found, monster hunters reckon they did collect a bunch of noises from under the water that are hard to identify and difficult to explain. And so the mystery continues.
Animal Kingdom.
Hands up if you've ever tried yoga. And keep your hands up if you've ever tried it with a goat on your back. Yes, you heard right. Goat yoga. Because that's what a bunch of people in Western Victoria do every month. taking their yoga mats to a farm in the town of Dimboola to do their sun salutations and downward dogs with a miniature goat standing on their back. Why, I hear you ask? Because, according to the miniature goat farmer, hanging out with and cuddling little goats is really good for your well-being. It makes you feel happy. And, well, who could argue with that? But doing yoga is hard enough, surely, without having to balance a goat on your back at the same time? Downward goat, anyone?
Newshounds.
Every Thursday, Squiz-E the Newshound sticks his snout into Squiz Kids HQ and reports back on fishy things he's sniffed out on the internet. And this week, his nose is twitching with all the fake news and misinformation that's out there on social media about the voice referendum. Unfortunately, when people feel strongly about an issue or topic, they sometimes spread lies if they think it will help their cause. And unfortunately, social media allows them to do it really easily. And that's definitely the case with the upcoming referendum, with lots and lots of misinformation doing the rounds. Some social media posts claim the voice referendum will give Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people ownership of the MCG, which is not true. Others claim it contains a trick question, which is also not true. There are deep fake videos of our Prime Minister doing the rounds, making it seem as if he said things he never said, and lots of examples of photo manipulation, making it appear that things have happened that haven't really happened. And sadly, around the time of a big vote, this stuff just gets more and more common, and more nutty. Which is why we should always do as Squiz-E the Newshound tells us, and that is to stop, think, and check before believing everything we see, read, or hear on the internet. Especially when it comes to the voice.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. In which country in the United Kingdom is Loch Ness? Yeah, that's right, it's in Scotland. Question number 2. What animals are yoga enthusiasts in Victoria plonking onto their backs? Yes, that's right, they're miniature goats. Question number 3. What's the name of the cockatoo who's just released a Squiz Kids guide to referendums? Yeah, that's right, his name is Gang Gang, and he's loads of fun.
Shout-outs.
It's August 31. The rare blue supermoon that Christy talked about yesterday will be out again tonight. Plus, today is Daffodil Day. Buy a flower and help to find a cure for cancer. Simple. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Tamika from Austinmere, Isabel from Clairvaux, Abby from Nightcliff, and Abby from Orange, Harvey from Bridgeman Downs, Marcus from Ryde, Arwen from Lucas, Hunter from Bridgewater, Logan from Frankston, and Sienna from Cardina. And a belated birthday shout-out goes to Peter from Epping. Classroom shout-outs today go to all of the prep students at Garden Vale Primary School in Brighton East, Class 3-4C and Miss Carr at Bathurst Public School, Class 6 Red and Mr Conroy at Bethany Catholic Primary School in Penrith, Class 6 Gold with Miss Matthews, and Class 3B with Miss Burgess at Blaney Public School, Class F1 with Miss Smith at Hammond Park Primary School in Perth, Year 3 with Miss Sutton at St Matthew's School in Narragain, and finally to Miss West at Middle Harbour Primary School, and birthday wishes to her today. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au or fill out the form on our website. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. Remember, keep on listening if you want to dive into Gang's Guide to Referendums, or otherwise we'll be back again tomorrow with the Kids vs Adult Squiz and all of the weekend birthday shout-outs. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.